Good evening. Welcome to Sunday Sports Rewind. Another NFL draft in the books. Rookie camp is right around the corner, so it's time to start learning about the new faces headed to Titletown. The Packers took 11 players in this year's draft, 5 on defense, 4 on offense, and 2 special teams. 5 of the picks were made through draft trades, and 4 were compensatory selections. Only 2 of them were the original slots in selections. 7 different football conferences ranging from the ACC to the Pac-12 represented. 4 of the selections hail from the SEC. That's really nothing new. And it's a long 3 days for the entire front office of the organization, especially first-year GM Brian Gutekunst. We welcome in Kelly Price for a draft edition of Cheese and Packers. So, Kelly, let's break this down into 2 categories, okay? Sharp, like this sharp cheddar, and stinky, like this aged old cheese. Let's start with the sharp. What did you like most about Gutekunst's draft?
Well, first and foremost, Packer fans have to trust the guy, knowing his beer of choice is Spotted Cow. And he did make some great calls in his first draft, calling the shots. And for that, we bring you the Sharp Board, similar to the draft board, but more cheesy like us. The Packers added quality depth at corner, a versatile offensive lineman with big upside and potential receiver upgrades after the release of Jordy Nelson. First off, the Packers' #1 need, in my opinion, was their embarrassingly thin corner core. And they hit the nail on the head with Jaire Alexander in the first round and got a steal with Josh Jackson in the second. Jackson led the nation in picks last year at Iowa and broke up an insane 26 passes. Alexander was injured much of 2017 but had a great junior year and could start from day 1 in the slot. And another sharp move by Gutekunst was adding a versatile lineman, Cole Madison, out of Washington State. And this guy, I think, is going to be a fan favorite. He says his luscious locks haven't been cut since high school prom. And football-wise, his experience as a tackle in college shows his physicality. The Packers said they look to move him inside, and they love that he's got the grit to be a guard.
Well, I'll add to that sharp list, Kelly. I was a fan of the wide receiver selections. 3 young guys, all over 6 feet, 3 inches tall. Big receivers seem to be something the Packers have gravitated towards. Green Bay did select 2 receivers last year in the draft, and well, neither of them made the team. But Jordy Nelson is gone now. Randall Cobb only has a year left on his current deal. So some young, tall targets in the receivers room really isn't a bad idea at all. And that brings us to the stinky side of things, Kelly. What about this draft was just plain old stinky?
Well, I think it's kind of like this aged cheddar, which is kind of stinky, but not really. I don't think the Packers completely stunk up anything in this draft, but we did come up with these. First and foremost, the lack of an edge rusher selection until their last pick, no tight ends drafted, and the question mark being that punter in the 5th round.
Yeah, let's start with the edge rusher. Now, leading up to the draft, Gutekunst made it very clear this was an area he wanted to improve. Nick Perry's been unlucky with injuries. Clay Matthews is 31 years old. His sack totals are about half of what they used to be, but the Packers only took 1 guy on the edge, and it wasn't until the 7th round in their last pick. So what gives? Well, Brian Gutekunst admits he would have liked to have improved that area more, but he simply didn't like the guys that were available to him.
And my concern with this draft is a lack of tight end. This position really seems cursed after the whole Martellus Bennett debacle. The Packers like to normally have 4 on their roster, and right now they've just got Jimmy Graham, Lance Kendricks, and Emmanuel Burt. Mike McCarthy said they weren't just in any position to, at any point in the draft, to take a tight end based on their board. And then the other kind of head scratcher was that 5th round punter selection, something nobody was really worried about with the outstanding rookie year that Justin Vogel had.
Very true. And as you said earlier to me today, Vogel was a Pro Bowl alternate last year, so it didn't really make a ton of sense. Overall, though, I think the pros outweigh the cons. The sharp outweighs the stinky. And that doesn't even touch on the free agents that they've signed and invited to camp. So, Kelly, thank you. And please enjoy some cheese.
Oh, well.